Hey guys, Marissa at KitchenTableStamper.com. We are working through a series of box templates at KitchenTableStamper.com. We're doing some fun treat boxes for treats that are well received and easy to find. So today we have a Kit Kat treat box, and of course we're using Blueberry Muffin limited edition Kit Kats. And we introduce some new boxes from time to time and recreate the ones that have already been introduced with new products for new seasons, for new occasions. It's been a really fun series. It's been going on since October. I encourage you, if you like to make treat boxes, check it out at KitchenTableStamper.com. All right, so we are going to make our Kit Kat box today, and the Kit Kat box starts with some blueberry bushel cardstock. Let's slide that out of the way. We're going to watercolor, but we need our Simply Scored tool and some blueberry bushel cardstock. This is 6 3/4 by 7, and we're going to pop it into our Simply Score tool on the 7-inch side to get started here. We're going to score and then trim according to the template, and we put the template picture in the free printable project sheet. The link is in the description below. And we're going to do 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 3 3/4, 4 1/4. Rotate once to the right, and then we're going to score at 1/2, 4 1/2, and 5. Let's get a bone folder and some paper snips, and we're going to work the score lines and trim according to the template. All right, isn't this blueberry bushel cardstock beautiful? I can't wait to show you what designer series paper I paired with it. All right, so we've got our 2 skinny panels on our left hand and the short for the flip tab at the top. We're gonna go to this bottom corner and we're gonna cut that out. So a little tiny bit of an angle cut and then a more extreme angle. Get rid of that corner. Then we're going to go up to the next score line and do that same kind of extreme angle. And we're going to cut off these 2 rectangles right here. Now, we're going to cut across and leave this little square. That's one of our tuck tabs. But then we're going to cut down at this score at a small angle. And then we can cut straight across this score line until we reach the intersecting score line. Now we're going to cut out. We're going to go to the second score line here. Cut straight down along the edge. When you get to the second score line, stop. Then we can take out this panel here by cutting across the little tab and then down at an angle. So you're going to cut this whole thing out as one piece. Now save this piece because we're going to use it for the front of our treat box. Now we just want to angle this tuck tab a little bit, and then we're going to turn our attention to the bottom of the box where we'll cut the angles on the square and the straight along the long rectangle pieces. So straight on this rectangle piece, angle on the square. And since these squares get tucked into the bottom of the box, that little angle helps to keep the bulk down. Since these rectangles go to the outside of the box, everything is nice and smooth and square when you cut on that straight line. All right, let's grab ourselves a paper trimmer because we're going to turn our attention now to this cutoff piece. We want that cutoff piece to be 2 5/8 by 1 5/8. So I've got my little paper trimmer here, and I'm going to start by just putting it in and slicing off at the score line. Then I'm going to turn to the left, line up 1 5/8. And then I'm going to turn to the left, and I'm going to cut off 2 5/8. Now this is the perfect little panel to layer onto the tuck tab after we add some texture. Do you see that great texture there? All right, let's get this one out of the way and let's do a little bit of embossing. I'm using the Painted Texture 3D embossing folder for this project. I think it goes really nicely with the watercolor patterns in the Designer Series paper that we're using today. So it's kind of an oldie but goodie. If you haven't gotten this one, check it out. It's in the annual catalog and it's been for a little while. It's a 3D folder, so we're going to pop the paper in to get that awesome painted texture. And we're going to put that on 1. So 1 and 4 is what you need with your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine to get that awesome 3D texture. And give it a crank and check it out. I love this texture. It's not masculine, it's not feminine, it can go whimsical, it can go more elegant. It really is just a nice little texture to add onto something when you want something that will add to the project but fade into the background. Do you see? All right, let's get our box and a corner rounder. I'm going to use my little We Are corner rounder here with the 1/4 inch, and we're going to round the bottom corners of our embossed and then our tuck tab. So we can go ahead now and adhere this textured piece to our box. It's going to fit right in on this tab with the tiniest little bit of border around the edges. And just adds a subtle detail. Now we're going to turn this around, bring in some more Designer Series paper. All right, have you seen this beautiful watercolor Designer Series paper? This is called Delightful Floral. It's an online exclusive paper and really is just absolutely gorgeous with our Blueberry Bunches stamp set. Blueberry Bunches is new in the January-April mini catalog. And if you're looking for a pack of paper that will really just go nicely, you can pull out the blues, the greens, the leaves, the purples, and use it with your Blueberry Bunches. Let me just show you this paper really quick. It's a watercolor wash on one side and then a floral on the other. So you get a lot of mileage on this. Great colors for that blueberries, but then also a really pretty floral that you can get a lot of versatile use out of this paper. So check it out. It's an online exclusive product from Stampin' Up. Go to marisaalvarez.stampinup.net, click shop, and then once you're there at shop, click menu, products, and online exclusives, and check out all the products that we have there. All right, our Designer Series paper pieces are 2 5/8 by 3 7/8, and then 3/4 of an inch by 2 5/8. And you don't have to scramble for these measurements. They'll be on the printable project sheet. We're gonna put this 3/4 of an inch piece about 1/2 inch from the bottom. Then we're going to wrap this piece with this gorgeous metallic ribbon. This is the Starry Sky metallic woven ribbon, and I'm actually going to double it up and I'm going to wrap it all the way around. Now if you wanted to, you could take a double piece, like a small double piece, you can put it across and then tape it to the back. And then you could take another double piece, slide through and tie a bow, and it might save you a couple of inches of ribbon. So if that's how you prefer to do it. I can tie a bow in my sleep, but double bows is when I get a little bit challenged. So I'm just gonna keep it super simple. I'm gonna take a double length that's probably about 15 inches. I might have 28 to 30 inches of ribbon here, but it's just going to help me get the results that I want. And so I'm going to wrap this around and then tie a knot off to the extreme edge. And now here's a little trick for you. If you have any kind of dexterity issues or tying bows isn't your strong suit, make sure you check out our embossing kit. We've got these awesome reverse grip tweezers in that Embossing Essentials, I think it's called, kit. You can use your little reverse grip tweezers to hold that knot for you. You see how my tweezers are holding that? And so now I don't have to worry about holding this snug while I try to tie this bow. The tweezers have got that for me. So now I can take the ribbon and loop and then swoop over the top, tuck, and pull. Get a nice tight bow, right? And then I can remove the tweezers and then just snug this up a little bit. It's a little bit bigger than I need, so I'll hold the knot and pull the tails. And so if you're at all bow challenged, I encourage you to try your reverse grip tweezers and see how that does for you, if that helps you. Okay, so when you've got the bow the size that you like, you're going to grab your scissors and then you can cut away from the spool. And then you can cut the loop off of the other end. All right, we've got our beautiful designer series paper, our shimmery metallic ribbon. Let's go ahead and adhere this to the front of our box. Now I've got a 2-inch circle punch and I'm going to punch this front panel so that there's a little divot so it makes it easier to get your candy bar. And this one is so nice because it's like 2 3/4 inch across the front of the panel. So you can, without marking center, use the corners of your punch to line up equally just a little bit past the score line, and it'll give you perfect placement for that notch. I just love that. I love when it's easy to find center. Let's assemble the box. I'm going to use tear and tape. You can use liquid glue on this box. You just have to hold it and let it dry. Little clothespins are those bulldog clips that I showed you in our last box in the series from Amazon. You can do little clothespins or clips to hold your layers in place while you're waiting for your glue to dry, but I do love the tear and tape, so I'm going to do that. I've got tear and tape on the last of the skinny little panels. I'm going to fold at the second score line, and then from the opposite side at the first score line, we can put this box together. This is a good one for craft fairs and markets because you can put it together to this point. You can add a little bit of adhesive to this bottom flap, and then you could store them until you're ready for your bazaar or your craft fair or your market. And then you can just pop the tape off the bottom, or the liner off the tape on the bottom, pop the box up, add the treats, and it's ready to go to market. So these will store flat for those of you who are doing fairs and markets, selling your handmade. All right, so we're going to fold in the sides, bring the back to the front and the front to the back, which makes our seams run all across the back of the box, which to me is pretty important. And then I'm going to grab my bone folder again, and I'm going to burnish it from the inside of the box here. Just make sure that adhesive sticks. Let's grab our treat. I can pop that in and set this aside for just a minute now. We're going to do a little bit of stamping and painting. I love this new palette. It comes with the Stampin' Glass Matte Studio. You can get this as part of your starter kit during Celebration. The Glass Mat Studio is the most excellent surface for getting amazing stamped images, whether you're using rubber or photopolymer. And it comes with the little palette and a cleaning cloth. Your $99 starter kit can have one of two bonus options. Either the Glass Mat Studio, $99 for $125 worth of product, plus the Glass Mat Studio, or $99 for $125 worth of product and an additional $30 of your choice in products. So joining during celebration is an awesome idea. If you've ever thought about joining Stampin' Up, now's the time to do it. If you have any questions, you can reach out. If you're ready, there's a link below to join my team. So I got my blueberry image. I've inked it up with Memento. I'm going to stamp it on basic white cardstock using my Glass Mat Studio underneath. Gives even these gorgeous detailed stamps just the perfect surface to stamp on. You'll get excellent images. I've noticed the increase in quality of my stamped images when using the Glass Mat Studio. I like to let my images dry a little bit before I paint. So I do have one here that's already stamped and had some time to dry. We're going to paint with Blueberry Bushel. We're just going to put a couple of drops of re-inker right in the palette. And what I'll do, because these are going to look all very similar to start with, is I will put the bottle right next to the color that I just dropped into that palette. Once we add water, it will be much easier to tell which color is which. Now the palette will clean up with cold water, so just once you're done painting, you take the palette to the sink and run it under cold water. Super easy cleanup and just a really fun technique. So I've got an aqua painter. It's Stampin' Up's old water brushes. Now we have water brushes. Both are excellent products. So if you still have these aqua painters, perfect. Use the aqua painters. If you don't have any, their water brushes are a multi-pack where you get a couple of different shaped brushes and they work wonderfully too. All right, so I just went ahead and added a little bit of water using my water brush, and I'm spreading out the Blueberry Bushel ink. So we've got some big intensity here, pretty much straight ink that we can go back to from time to time. We've watered it down a little bit and then pulled it even a little bit further. So you can see we've got inky, almost black, and then more intense. And then over here, we're moving the water into the color. All right, and I like to do that so that I can grab more ink as I need, a lot more, a little more, or just the color. And if you're finding that you've got too dark results, then I love to use this area right here to really spread out and lighten up the ink. All right, so I've got some different intensities all worked out. My brush is loaded and full of ink, and I've got a little piece of paper towel handy too. I think that this is a good place to test how intense is the color on your brush. Of course, you clean here before you change colors. You swipe off entirely. And so keep a little paper towel handy. All right, I'm going to pick up some ink here. Then I'm going to come into my image, and I'm by no means an expert, but I do get results that are pretty happy. I tend to blend things a little bit to medium, but that's okay. Practice is what you need when you're doing a new coloring medium. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the most intense color while it's most intense on my brush where the artist drew lines. Do you see these little lines that the artist drew? That indicates shadows. So that's where you want to start. You want to lay down your brush at the extreme ends of those shadowy places where the artist drew and let the ink clean from your brush in those real shadowy places. Then you move the brush towards the wide open spaces that the artist left, and you'll start to get highlights and shadows. I'm going to come back with a little bit more ink here and get from the center of the blueberry out to the little ends And then I'm going to pick up some real intense ink for the center. And now there is our blueberry. I'm going to do that same kind of technique for the rest of the blueberries, where I use the artist's suggestion for the shadows and get in there with my brush, lay down the most intense ink right on those little lines that she drew, move into the most open areas, and create some highlights. All right, my blueberries are all filled in. I'm gonna clean my brush, just give a little squeeze, let the water flow through the brush a little bit, swipe off on the towel until it's clear. And now we're gonna take our lemon lime twist and we're going to move the ink from the puddle and start our leaves. I'm gonna go kind of start my most intense lemon lime twist close to the berries and then move up through the center of the leaf. And if you find that you've got a lot of ink, the color is really intense, just go on to the next one. It's okay to come back around. So we're doing our most intense color closest to the fruits and then down the center of the leaves. Now we can come over here and we can get rid of some of this color, some of this intensity, by mixing it up with some water in our palette. And then we can move out from those intense areas with a little bit less intense paint on the brush and move to the edges of our leaves. To some extent, you can just keep layering up the color. You don't want to saturate the paper too much. We're using basic whites. I'm not using watercolor paper here, but you can layer up. It's a little too intense at the edges. Just dab in a little bit more color. And now we've got some pretty cool leaves there. We're gonna rinse a little bit. We're going from green to green, so we don't have to do too much. And now we're gonna grab a little granny apple green. It's got a little bit darker intensity here. We want this to be really watered down, but this is gonna give us our shadows, our really deep kind of intensity. And all you want to do is get right by the fruit and then right at the center of the leaf so that you've got some real intensity there. It really is fun. So just relax and try to enjoy it. Practice. Grab a little bit more lemon lime twist here to soften the edges. There we go. There's our blueberries and leaves. And go in with a little more lemon lime twist here too. And remember, it's going to dry a little bit lighter, a little bit less intense. And let me bring in a dry one so you can see the difference in the colors. Here's our dry blueberries. Here's our freshly painted ones. So you can see that it just kind of mellows out a little bit as it dries. Let's get this out of here so we don't have any ink catastrophes. And we're going to cut out our blueberries. I'm going to fussy cut these with just a tiny little white edge around. All right, there's our blueberries. Let's go ahead and clear away the scraps and the Glass Mat Studio. It is an amazing surface to work on, but the photography and video lighting leaves us quite a glare. So I'm going to move that away. And then I'm going to show you some of the other pieces that I prepared for this box. All right, so ahead of time, I die cut from Basic White this pierced circle and pierced label. Now these are from the Stylish Shapes dies. It's the little tiniest banner. And then this one is a brand new die set This one is called Everyday Details. I don't have my labels on my chart yet, but this is the die. So it cuts the circle for the negative space, and then in the positive space, it leaves a frame. So it's the second from the largest. And then little tiny die cutting here. I've got some vellum flowers and granny apple green leaves. Now those two little detail pieces, this is going to make the best little paper embellishments. This is Lovely and Sweet Dies. And this Lovely and Sweet Dies has 3 of this die that has a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller flowers. So 1, 2, and then my third one is out so I could show you. So not only is it going to make the cutest little paper embellishments, but you can produce a ton of them at one time. And then I also got this little sprig from there. So really cute wingman dies in this set. Pretty sprigs, and then a couple of different flowers. Now this one has 2 of the smaller flower. So this one has a little bit bigger one and a little bit smaller one. So lots of, and then there's tabs and labels. It's just a fun die set with its accessory pieces. All right, so that's where I got those little flowers and leaves from. We need to do one little bit of stamping here. I have the word hello. I got this one from Gorgeously Made stamp set. I wanted something small for this treat box. And so we're gonna stamp with Blueberry Bushel. On our little tag, we're going to stamp all the way to the right, about center top to bottom and all the way to the right. And then we can go ahead and add our circle to the box with Stampin' Dimensionals. I love to use the edges of the Stampin' Dimensionals for this. It really is just kind of what I think they're made for. I'm going to take a line of that edge and I'm going to close this box nice and snug, and I'm going to put this edge right up against the flap of the box without gluing it shut. You want it right up against there, but don't glue your box closed. Remove the liner, and then you can add the circle. You get a nice tuck tab box. It's nice and sturdy. The adhesive is right along the edge. And now you can do a little half dimensional to just support this bottom half of the die cut. That way you didn't close your box with the dimensionals. Everything went just perfectly where it belongs. Because we watercolored this and it's on basic white, it's kind of starting to curl just a little bit. And I love that. So we're going to play that to our favor. We're going to put the glue in the center on the berries. And then we're going to put it kind of on an angle on our circle. And then what I'm going to do is add a couple of dimensionals under the leaves. So I'm going to let that natural curl that's starting to happen. Not only am I going to let it happen, but I'm going to encourage it. So there is our fruit. We're going to add our little guys with mini glue dots. So what I did for my flower, just to keep it very simple, is I assembled it with glue dots. I took the first glue dot and folded it in half with my Take Your Pick tool. And then now that it's all rolled up in half, I'm going to take the little flower and put it on there. I'm going to take the little bit bigger flower, put it on the next glue dot. Then I'm going to take the little one, stick it to the big one. Now we've got a 2-layer flower. I'm going to grab my Stampin' Pierce mat. I'm going to press down on the center of this flower, which makes it kind of cup shaped. I'm going to encourage that by pulling up the petals. Got my little flower. It's got some nice shape. I'm going to pop it right on my label. Now I'm going to take my leaf. I'm going to put a glue dot on the front of the stem. I'm going to put my leaves on the back of my banner, right where I want them to be. Now I'm going to take one more glue dot. Yes, it's a lot of glue dots, but it's the easy way. I'm going to put a glue dot behind the flower and leaves on the banner. And I'm going to put a half a dimensional on the other side of the banner. Now this is going to go on the knot of the ribbon, so it's already going to be supported. And we're just going to add this guy right on there. And our last step is to embellish with some of these rustic metallic adhesive back dots. I love this rustic metallic with the blueberries. I think that it really is just such a natural finish and really accentuates. We're going to cover all of our little glue dots by adding a big one to the center of our flower, and then making kind of a triangle from the center of the flower. We'll add a big one and a little one. And there is our Kit Kat box. I hope you love the new box templates and you'll give it a try. I've included a link for the Kit Kats on Amazon if you're looking for them in the description box below. If you've got any questions, reach out, Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. And to shop Stampin' Up 24/7, buzz over to marisaalvarez.stampinup.net. Thanks for watching.